I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It is yet another fun episode of Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is a weekly online drawing group. We've been going strong now for 6 or 7 years, I forget which, but we were on Google Hangouts and now we're doing things on Zoom. We record our sessions, so this will be on my YouTube channel, and we'll also be posting episodes on our Facebook page, Epic Sketch Time. So check that out. We often post other things on our Facebook page, other people's videos, tutorials, reference things for convention. Finish introducing myself. My name is Mark Monlux. I live in Tacoma, Washington, and today I'm going to be working on some poster artwork for this island Earth. And I'll going to be doing it on my other computer, and maybe you'll be lucky and I'll turn the monitor over there. In order of appearance, Bill, you're up.
I am Bill Morse. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator in Seattle, Washington, and today I do a web comic called Rhapsodies, and today I'm going to be working on some of that strip art.
Have you done your Inktober for today?
No, I have not.
We'll get back to that. Katie, you're up next.
Hi, this is Katie C. I am a writer and artist from Bonnie Lake, Washington. You can find me on Instagram as Evil Girlfriend Media. Today, I am working on my fan art of the movie They Live, and I like to draw fan art, screaming ladies. That's about it.
Well, I am really happy with how you've changed the head. It looks, the eyes are spot on. All the skin looks great. And I noticed that you painted over your previous background. So what's up with that?
So I decided, so it's not going to look like this when I get done, but we talked about, so I was going to have a profile of Roddy Piper in the background, but then I was going to make the obey sign. And so it's so campy and cute. I just decided to go ahead and do the bubblegum foils. And then I'm going to make the obey sign look like an empty pack of gum. And then that'll be it. I think this is going to be one that ends up getting either a picture taken of it or it's going to get scanned, because I do have a pretty large scanner, because I think that the original is so campy and fun. I don't know that anyone would pay me for this original, but I think if I digitize it, I could possibly sell some prints of it.
Yes,
we'll see.
I think you could.
And I love the movie They Live, and I love Chihuahuas. So worst case scenario, if no one buys it, it just hangs in my house. It'll be fine. But yeah, so I really liked it, and I was like, yeah, I feel like having Roddy Piper on it might be too much. So let's go with the foiled look, and I'm doing like a muted gray right now, and then I'll go back in and outline it with a darker black. I wanted to use something lighter just in case, in case I messed it up. It'd be easier to cover it up. So yeah, and I think maybe on the little gum packets, I was thinking maybe like Wigglies, because little Chihuahua dogs, their butts wiggle. So instead of Wrigley's.
Yeah, because it's fun. For a while, I had this idea for a skit where spoofing it, where Roddy comes into the store and I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and before he can finish the punchline, he sees that it's a supermarket and there's the gum right on display.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought that it would be funny if someone did that skit on Saturday Night Live and then a hand comes over from the side with some spearmint
Gum.
gum, and suddenly it goes into a spearmint gum commercial.
Oh
Sounds like
gosh.
we're kind of on the same page there then.
Oh.
And maybe they could come back to the whole they live people. They're saying buy now, holding up signs that say buy now.
I actually saw a fairly good retrospective on They Live the other day. I think it was that Cinema Tyler I was recommending. No, wait, it wasn't Cinema Tyler. It was this other essayist I've been following. I'll find just a second. I can find.
Yeah, I've actually been while he's looking for that. I've been writing a lot the last little bit. It's very peculiar. I wrote a young adult novel like 8 years ago, and every time we have we go to a convention, I sell some books because you print a massive amount of books to get the lower price. And so I have just suddenly gotten a bunch of like inquiries and fan mail, like when is this sequel going to come out? And so I feel like I should just finish it because I hate lying to people that I say I work on it, and technically I have worked on it a little bit in my brain, but not enough that it's anywhere near being finished. And so that's one of my other goals this year. So over the weekend, I have a short story collection, which should have came out also 8 years ago. And I never came out. So I'm trying to finish that short story collection. Then I'm going to finish that and then still make a bunch of art for Texas Frightmare. So we'll see how it all plays out over the next year. Oh my gosh. No pressure, right?
Yes, and if anybody's interested, I just posted that essay.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, according to this guy, Carpenter did it at a period where he was utterly fed up with and disgusted by the film industry, and so was going full rant mode.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like the highway off of where, because he's going to be at the convention this year, the highway off of where the convention center is John Carpenter Highway.
Really, same is it the same? It's named after him, or just a coincidence?
I believe it's named after him because I think he is from Dallas or lived in Dallas. I'm pretty sure. But he's an interesting guy because not only is a writer, film director, but he's also a composer.
I was aware that he did almost all of the music. I think there's only about one. I think there's one movie where he didn't, but it's almost all his scores.
I want to say hello to Roger Crownover, who happens to join us while we weren't looking.
Hi, Roger.
And Roger said hi in the chat. Sorry, I had to go offline, but that my phone started ringing and I didn't think you guys wanted to hear that. So an update on my Kickstarter project. I did get someone that signed on at the director's tier, so I added another pin to the series. They wanted it to be, it came from outer space. So did a great head for that. They originally I did it in green, but they said, I was saying, I'm thinking about doing this in blue, and they said, how about purple? I thought, purple. So I figured purple won't work. So I went in, and in 5 minutes, I had colored it in shades of purple that were perfect, absolutely perfect for it. It looked, I showed it to my wife. She says, "Oh, yeah, that second one looks so much better." And I said, "You guys, you're spot on. It's going to be purple. Here's what it looks like." And they go, "Oh, that's cool." You know, and so on the back of the card, I told them that I was have their names and their director's cut, and I had them proof their names, which I, for the life of me, I kept misspelling one of their names. First, it was her name. I was calling her by her mother. Then I was getting her last name wrong, and I finally got it right. And then we're kind of going, "Hey, instead of black, can you have it lettered in purple?" I'm like, "Sure, let's go do that."
Yeah. They come from outer space, the one with the alcohol, the aliens with alcohol claws, right?
No, that's incorrect.
Uh,
That would be Invasion of the Saucermen, which is the first one in the series. So, matter of fact, what I'll do is pull up my Kickstarter, and I did an update where I posted the complete, all of them. Let's see. Again, I can show them off to you guys. See if I got the right password in there. Dates. So let me see if I can hit the share screen here. Okay, so these are this is at 75% of that final size. And so we got Invasion of the Saucermen, It Conquered the World, I Married a Monster from Outer Space, This Island Earth, Earth versus the Flying Saucers, Killers from Space, and It Came from Outer Space. Now, It Came from Outer Space was filmed in 3D. And it was one of two films my first black and white 3D experience was way back in 1981 in college. And I was just, I had to see 3D. Always heard about 3D, always wanted to see 3D, went out to see it. And I was kind of going, wow, this is great. Why did this technology ever go away? Of course, everybody was complaining about headaches and eye soreness, and meanwhile, I just wanted them to put on a third movie. So.
I admit it always gave me eye strain.
And my first 3D movie that was with the polarized lenses, which is actually some fairly old technology and what's currently being used in movie theaters now for color 3D. That first film was Dial M for Murder, and it was an Alfred Hitchcock film, and it was done on a special anniversary re-release. And I went to the theater and I went, wow, this is even better. I hope they bring back 3D stuff. And would you like to know why 3D is now a thing and will never go away?
Do tell.
China. It all has to do with China. Pretty much video theater growth in the United States, once all the big box theaters came around, their growth pretty much stopped. And when they switched to digital, those, a lot of smaller theaters went by the wayside because they couldn't bring in they couldn't afford a digital projector. They had to remain 35 millimeter. Well, that's not the format anymore. But in China, in 1 year, China opened 200 new movie theaters. 200 in 1 year. I mean, it was just amazing. And guess what they were all equipped with? The latest and greatest technology, which include being able to project in 3D. Now, let's say that you're a Hollywood studio and you want to get a good piece of that Chinese marketplace. Guess what? If you read the China's, everything's done by committee, and there's a committee that reviews films. And one of the categories that they look for in a film, besides, having certain moral structures or what have you, is, hey, is it filmed in 3D? Because we got all these theaters capable of showing 3D. So you have a lot of movies that are made for the Asian market, some of them with American actors. I don't know if any of you have seen a movie called The Great Wall. It's a fantasy movie that involves giants, basically aliens that came in on a meteor in old-time medieval China, the reason this wall got made was to keep these things on the other side of the wall. Oh, and it's wonderful fun. And done in 3D. You were saying, Bill?
I was going to say, did they rationalize the presence of Matt Damon in the
Oh
plot?
yeah, well, lots of people were doing Marco Polo type stuff. Having foreigners there wasn't completely unheard of. But that's why you have all sorts of strange 3D movies. Some of them are what I call nanny films, like Journey to the Center of the Earth with Brandon. I think that was that Brandon Fraser inside that one?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, with an albino dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the last thing I saw him in, or was aware of him being in.
And oh, you didn't see him in the Chinese mummy movie?
No.
No.
The only Chinese mummy movie that I was aware of was, oh no, I'm not even that one. No, I don't think I even heard of the Chinese mummy movie.
Yeah, there's a third mummy movie, which is a Chinese mummy movie, and he really hurt his back during the production of that movie, and so he kind of had to step away from making movies while his back recovered, and that kind of hampered his film. That's why he was out of the spotlight for so long.
Oh, I thought it was that, and apparently he got briefly blacklisted when he came out as being one of the male examples of the U2 movement.
Of the YouTube movement?
Apparently there had been a director who'd molested him, and
Oh, I had no idea about that.
mhm.
I thought it was just because he had hurt his back. Ah, there we go. This is my pencil sharpener. It's an electric pencil sharpener that my dad got as a signing when he became an American Express card carrier. Card courier,
Courier.
carrier, not courier.
If you're talking about
Someone who carries the American Express. When he signed up with American Express, they gave him this promotional pencil sharpener, and I've used it. It's been dropped. It's got a crack on it. But I've used it for years. I mean, this thing is. I wonder if it's got a copyright on the bottom of it. But this thing is, Katie, it's quite possible that this thing is older than you. I think I got it back in the 80s.
Believe it or not, I'm older than that. So
I
I am not a child of the
I
80s.
do not believe that.
Yep.
Certainly, you were
Nope.
not born in the 70s.
I surely was. Barely, but I was.
Oh,
I was
I
looking at
should
your-
stop sharing my screen here. I did totally forgot about that. That was totally boring to look at. My apologies, everybody. So I had to do all these surveys, Kickstarter surveys with my backers. And I thought it would only take me the morning, but it took me until 4 o'clock to get them all done. Because I thought I could just do one blanket survey, but no, you have to do a survey for each level. Because who knows why, but I was stuck. So people who signed in and bought 3 pins, this survey basically say, okay, which of these 7 pins do you want your 3 selections to be? And then I made another little question that says, hey, do you want to buy more pins? Well, if you want to buy more pins, select them here. And the last question is, are any of those duplicates? If so, let me know by typing in, 3X killers from space or what have you. So hopefully they will respond to those quickly, and hopefully I got an email from the Chinese manufacturer today confirming that they got my 50% payment for the first batch, and then I just sent the second piece of artwork a couple days ago, and they sent me an estimate. And I said, yeah, sign off on that. Sent that away. May have to consider using somebody else in the future, but there are other places. Lord knows they were approaching me left and right on Instagram, and everywhere where I was posting it, they were sending me queries. Most of their bids were about the same price, though. Some of them were cheaper. And but some of them were way more expensive. I said, sorry, you're priced out. By how much? What do we have to do to catch up? I said, dude, if you're asking how much to catch up, you're not going to get it. I don't want you just to match this guy's estimate. I want you to, come back and beat this guy's estimate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Katie, do you have a piece of bubblegum wrapper ready to go as a reference art for when you're painting the logo in there? Oh, right there. Okay.
I wasn't sure when you were using it as a template for the rectangle.
Yeah, so see, here's how it's looking so far. I'm gonna have to do something behind the dog, maybe put like a little more gray to kind of, put some focus on him.
I don't think you really need to, not with that metallic sheen happening.
Oh, you don't think so? I was afraid he wasn't popping out as good as or as well as he should.
Bill, what do
Uh,
you think? I'm looking at this. What do you think of that? I think the flat on top of that metal sheen's making him pop plenty. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it sticks out pretty well. I mean,
okay.
I find that what you just colored possibly too large in comparison to what I think you were doing with the rest of the pile. But that's just me.
Do you mean the pink box
Yeah.
or oh yeah. So I kind of want it to just be this looming empty package of gum. And in here it's gonna say obey.
Oh, that's what I thought. I thought it was gum, but I wasn't sure if it was a sign for gum and all the other ones were the actual packages.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna go back in and make the little edges of the little detail edges better so it looks like wrappers, and then I just have to let that pink dry. And of course then I'll come back and work a little more on the dog and
I would say, do all the work on the wrappers first before you
Okay.
decide to put any, because that additional work on the wrappers might even push the dog out more.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I could do that. I do think it's gonna be a fun piece. I got to figure out how to get the anchor on because I feel like he needs to have the little band on his glasses. I got to figure out how to get that angle in there.
I really don't think you need it.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I think it would just be that's something that you'll see, but most people will just automatically blank out.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching a Japanese anime and the person's wearing glasses in the anime and they don't bother to show the side frame because they just want the eye to show up really good.
I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I know that's kind of one of the hard things too with even with writing, because I reread my book that all these people have suddenly come out of the woodwork and are asking for when I say a lot of people, it's like 5, but that's a lot for me because I haven't written in years. And I was reading it and I was like, oh my God, this is so horrible. And Tim was like, Amanda, you're probably the only person who thinks it's that horrible. So I think that's the same with art, because you just see everything that's wrong with it instead of everything that's right with it. That's why you have to have groups like this. People talk you off a ledge.
I'm all for not doing something unless there's a real reason for it. And I catch myself only occasionally doing something where, oh, it has to be like this, when a real, a lot of cartoonists I know say, no, it doesn't have to be like that. You're drawing something. It doesn't have to be like that. Which makes me a lot more comfortable drawing horses.
Yeah, I've come to, based on one of the sketch challenges I've been doing, I've come to not be a fan of drawing horses. So I may be better. Though the one thing that's been making it easier is I invested on visual references from a local toy store.
A nice plastic horse will always help.
Yeah, and this is this German brand that's at this little toy store in Ballard. It's a really good line. I mean, the details are amazing.
I think I have little anime people figures. I think they even have one for horses. Though I have an issue with horses and Japanese anime. I have yet to see, horses in Japanese anime all are terrible.
I know what you mean. Some of the most blatant ones I of what you're talking about I've seen in Attack on Titan and Inuyasha.
And they do all the wonderful, whenever possible, what they'll do is when they draw a horse, they do the same thing that cartoonists do with hands, is they'll draw a figure without hands, meaning like the person's putting his hand behind his head like this, scratching his head, or, he's got them crossed up like this, or one's behind his back.
I sympathize.
So when you're drawing a horse in Japanese anime, usually it's just the back of the horse and a bit of a neck. They don't even draw the head. They don't draw the legs. Or if the horse is moving along, you're not seeing any of the legs, or you're seeing only hooves coming down. Anything to make it really easy. Roger goes, exactly. Yeah, because there's something walking is the most difficult thing in the world to draw. And if you do any little bit of it off, it looks absolutely horrible. But even a wagon, a Japanese, a horse-drawn wagon in Japanese anime tends to look a lot like a shoebox with cardboard wheels tacked on it with pencils. It's just terrible. So my tip is, if you're going to write anything for Japanese anime, then make sure there's no horses involved.
Mm-hmm.
Pet peeve. I'm sure you guys all have pet peeves, like things you see in movies or stuff on TV.
Oh yeah. Definitely. It tends to usually be medical stuff for me. And I'm like, okay, that's
Oh, because you're in the medical field and those things just pop right out at you.
From an accuracy perspective or something else.
Usually writing, like, I'm like, who wrote this? Did somebody not check? You could have Googled that. It's not that hard to Google. That is not how but someone mentioned to me once that they tend to make things inaccurate because they don't want people to think that is the way something works. They don't want that liability, which I thought was interesting.
Sort of like in cartoon. I remember reading somewhere in cartoon, in the animated Batman series, they had Batman use a whole lot of roundhouse kicks because if a kid were trying to imitate that, they were more likely to fall on their ass than they were to hurt somebody.
I could see that for sure.
I know that using a defibrillator, everybody, in the movies, it's always somebody with the paddles and they go clear, and anyone backs up and the one person goes in. That's not how they do. They don't have the paddles anymore. They have these peel off things, and they peel them off and they glue them to the side, and everybody backs off, and then somebody hits the button.
Yeah, I've actually been a nurse long enough that I did work in the ER when we still used. Sometimes they will still use the paddles, but like if they're using the paddles, like there's some trouble. Like if you haven't got time to find the pads, but yeah, it's way safer to use the pads than the paddles. Way safer.
Oh, but it looks so good on TV to use the paddles, though.
Yeah. And you really do say, I'm clear, all clear, everyone clear, charging. You make it very clear that something is about to get electrocuted, and it might be you if you are touching this person. So that part is very accurate. But yeah, that tends to be my pet peeve. And then I don't know what other pet peeves I have really. We've been on a kick lately where it just seems like everything we watched, the plot is so predictable. It's been a long time since something shocked us.
Where a twist happened where you weren't seeing it coming.
Right. Like everything is just like from the minute the show starts, you're just like, okay, we know where this is going, you know? And that just gets kind of like, I don't know, kind of bums me out. I'm like, oh, have I watched too much TV? Have I read too many books? Sometimes when I'm reading books though, I like to know where everything's going. And then it's like, just because you know what you're getting. Sometimes that's the same with horror movies. Like
Yeah.
you know what you're here for, and you're going to get it because this is that trope, and sometimes you just want the tropes.
I got stuck reading a couple of books in a row where the writer was really into female self-doubt,
Oh boy.
questioning every move she was doing. Oh, but if I did this, or if this happened, then this would happen. And man, I can't really do this because if I did this, this would happen. And I'd feel like this about it. And not just covering it once, but hitting that same ground over and over and over again. I'm going, oh my God. This is, I know you're trying to fill up pages, to, make that book nice and thick, but this is killing me here.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah, I read a really wild book. It was one of those things where, I have Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't know what kind of book it was, but it had like 14,000 reviews, and I was like, sure, I'll read this. Whatever. It says it's a thriller, so it was like a sexy thriller. And this book, I got like 5 or 6 chapters in, and I was like, this book is a mess. But now I'm invested, so I got to figure out what they're doing with this mess. And I was like, and that's why this book has 14,000 reviews.
Healthy little racket, yes.
Oh, so sometimes, you might think one thing, and then it's like, okay, well, here we go. I'm here. I'm here for the ride.
So my wife was telling me about this book she was having a hard time getting into. I said, well, tell me about it. And she told me about it. Well, I wonder what she's having a hard time getting into this thing. So I checked out the book and I'm listening to the book and I'm listening because I'm doing an audio book. I find it's a lot easier taking a book when you're doing audio and you're not, I'll put a book aside if I'm reading it, and if it's not captivating me, because I'll start falling asleep. But I've been listening to a ton of audio books during the pandemic.
Oh.
And anyway, so I listened my way all the way through this book, and she says, well, I said, oh, you didn't finish it? She says, no, I got drawn into another book, and should I bother? Should I go back to it? Is it worth it? I said, well, I put the time in, and there's another book in there, so it's definitely a sequel. But you know what? I'm in no rush. So I think you're safe. And well, what do you? I said, you're right. It's just really hard to get into this particular book. It was a lot like The Magicians, but it didn't have that same type of spark that pulled you in. So I don't know if you've read The Magicians before it came out on TV.
I didn't, but I know the premise from the show. I didn't watch the show very much, but I know the premise.
I think I know of it. It's sort of an adult Harry Potter, isn't it? Or am I getting it mixed up with something else?
No, you're kind of right, but to say adult is is even a little bit on the weak side. So it can be very grim. I mean, you're thinking, okay, Harry Potter's kind of grim. No, Harry Potter's not grim. Harry Potter is still fairly fluffy, but and the TV series, The Magicians, kind of hits most of the points as the book does, but in different ways. So you can definitely be full of surprises by reading the book and then watching it on TV. The series is different enough.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I would recommend both as their own little unique animals. Yeah, they altered up the characters very nicely. Yeah, this other book is called the Atlas Six,
Hmm.
and just couldn't get into it. You'll have to let me know if Tim's read it and what he
Okay.
thought of it.
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
How about you, Bill? Have you read the Atlas Six?
No, I don't think so.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, I was going, let's see, I was reading a nonfiction discussion book on the making of The Wire. And then I was starting listening to some true crime podcasts on the background.
I'm listening to a series of books that are just fluffy as all get out. Let's see. Trying to remember. I'll look on my phone here.
Yeah.
It's oh, it's so fluffy. But sometimes you just want fluffy. Okay.
Exactly.
It's a gal named Anne Bishop.
Sounds familiar.
And it's all about this world that's very similar to ours, but there are these creatures that are a little higher up on the predatory line. You got your wolves and your ravens and your the things that are equivalent to vampires and the things that are equivalent to panthers, and they all have human and they can shift between forms. And they basically rule the world with human settlements in between, but in a modern setting. So you've got computers and cars and trains, but you don't have airplanes. So weird things like that. And I'm thinking, how can you have a cell phone without a satellite or cell phone? They mention cell phone towers, but they leave off satellites altogether. Anything in space, they just flat out don't even consider some stuff. So like what TVs there are few and far between. Even radio's not really listened to a whole lot. Most people sit around reading books. Just
that's kind of wild.
Yeah. So, like I said, this whole world she set up, and I'm on like book number. I think this is like the 7th book in the series I'm reading.
Anne Bishop, you said?
Anne with a B, pardon me, and E Bishop. And let's see. I'm going to the library and tell you what the first book is. And then there are these girls who cut themselves, and when they cut themselves, they see visions. So you got that whole, teenagers cutting themselves things to deal with. Let's see. I want to search the libraries. Oh, go into the library. No, I don't. There we go. What's the first book in the series? Written in Red is the first one. Let's see how many of these books have I read. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think this is like the 8th book in the series I'm reading. Like I said, it's total mental floss, fluffy popcorn.
Yeah, I found that to be the case with a lot of urban fantasies like that.
But it's stuff you can, listen to when you're doing the dishes. And when I'm inking or coloring and I know what I'm going to be doing, I'll listen to that in the background.
Yeah.
I was going to ask real quick, because we only have 7 minutes left. You guys are doing Inktober, is that right? I don't mean to change the
I'm
subject.
not.
But,
How
okay.
about you, Bill? How goes your Inktober?
Well, technically I'm not doing Inktober either, but I'm up to 21. Yeah, I'm doing my very own Witchtober, which
Okay.
is pretty much doing my excuse to practice my watercolors like I do for Mermaid, only with witches. And
How fun.
I don't think it's my best work, but it's doing what it's supposed to do, as in that it's giving me push-ups for watercolors and forcing me to do a watercolor every night.
Sorry to cut you off. I was like, I knew we wanted to talk about that before the end of because I knew you asked him before. Sorry, Mark.
It's okay. I was just prattling.
Never.
And if anybody is interested, I put the first week's worth of time lapse of the first week of them up on my YouTube page.
Yeah, I saw that came out, just 2 days ago?
Well, I posted it this morning.
Okay, this one. I knew I saw it.
And another thing that I've been playing with that I appreciate an opinion on. I think I've mentioned my space opera before.
Yes, I know about your space opera.
Yeah, well, anyway, I was sort of beginning to experiment because I was beginning to play around with doing it on Webtoons, and so I was sort of playing around with the first A panel for a potential Webtoon series, and so this is the first one. I'm sort of the wrong one. I've sort of been deliberately trying to experimenting with the style that I've been having that I've been doing with a lot of the sketch challenges with a single width pen line, and deliberately going for flatness, kind of a woodblock quality.
Well, I think it looks pretty good. I like the look of it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't think your lines are too thin. I think they're the right thickness. A lot of times when people do that, I think they make the lines too thin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was slightly worried that it was too thick, but it wasn't too thick. But
So you're thinking about doing it as a webtoon then.
right. And so part of me has been trying to sort of figure it out, because I mean, at the very least, it's self-explanatory. It's a vertical column of pictures, but I've been seeing that there is some way to, and I've been keeping my eye open for users groups on Reddit and Facebook. For the most part, all I've been able to find is what are essentially fan pages, though. And Webtoons does have a few, has quite a few tutorials and guide pages, but generally they're starting at a really, really bottom of the learning curve. And I'm going, I know all that. I just want some good tips on composition and whatnot. I mean, for example, one thing is, as far as publishing later on how to, if you were to do a print copy of them, how to put them together.
How to size them so that they work.
Yeah, and I've seen that a few comic book artists start with an original page format and then cut it up just for the webtoons.
I think that's the way you're going to have to figure it out if you're planning on having that as the end one. Is you're going to have to format it for a book first and then figure out how to fit it to webtoons after the fact.
Yeah, because I mean, the fact that it was a storyboard format is one of the things that's been making me interested in webtoons. And but that's as far as I've gotten with it right now. It was pretty much that. The first chapter is the only one that I have a full script for.
Well, I'm actually excited to see what you come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, believe it or not, it has been an hour of epic fun at Epic Sketch Time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We will be taking next week off because I'm going to be in New Orleans, but I'll send out a notice and we will be back the following week. And so thanks again, and I'll talk to you later.